Storm's Thunder War has begun, and everybody is picking sides. Cosmic entities are getting involved in the situation. The Phoenix is also being drugged into this, but who is on whose side?
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie, and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It is your boy Ernie, the Blerd Without Fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Storm number 11, and I want to run down some of the most pressing things that came up this issue. Let's get into it. First and foremost is that Storm and the Thunder War, everything that's going on here has kind of drug other Thunder Gods into the proceedings. Technically, some inserted themselves into the proceedings without even being asked. They all, on some level or another, kind of just sticking their nose in where it probably does not belong. We had already seen that characters like Shock and Mamerigan and Sasano, all of them had just kind of thrown themselves in to Storm's affairs. Had they not ganged up on Storm, things probably would have went a lot differently than what they did. However, here we are. And now they're holding a vote in the neutral realm for all pantheons that is allowing them to decide what side are the Thunder Gods going to take. Are they going to side with Storm, or are they going to side with Hadad? Now, the thing that's very interesting about this, and the thing you really want to make sure you take stock of, is that it kind of seemed like it was a foregone conclusion, but apparently those were some gods acting rogue. And what's probably pushed this even more into question, reason why they're fully throwing in on a vote for this, is because Storm has already captured not one, but two Thunder Gods and put them in a realm where they can do no harm. Now, Zeus is leading the charge on this and asking who's gonna ride with who. We're talking about an entire congregation of Thunder Gods ranging across every pantheon of gods in the known world. And only one of them is taking Storm's side in this Thunder War. And that's Beta Ray Bill. He's that dude that, yeah, Thor is out here, but just kind of like with Storm, how Storm is considered a god of the storm, so too is Beta Ray Bill. And Beta Ray Bill recognizes something's not right about this. Because at the end of the day, throwing in their lot with Hadad is a fool's errand, because Hadad is gonna destroy everything. But what the Thunder Gods are hoping for is effectively Thunder God reform. Yeah, these are gods who are, I'm not gonna lie, they all kind of sound like a bunch of hoes. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Sasano, man, bruh, what are you doing? They're acting salty because Eternity didn't choose them to be the host of himself, to be its herald. They're salty about this, and we see both Mamerigan and Sasano act really pressed about this, like especially Mamerigan, but they're mad because they weren't picked. So it like I said, it just makes them look petty. And then when they pulled up on Storm, and this is something I thought was really disingenuous on Sasano's part, is that Sasano is basically saying that, yeah, okay, so Storm became the herald of Eternity, became the host thereof for Eternity, but when we pressed her, she crumbled, and It's like, well, wait a minute. So not only did you get mad that you didn't get picked, but then you went and tried to test nuts, and when it didn't quite go your way, like, you want to have this revisionist history that suddenly, oh, she couldn't hack it. But at the end of the day, Storm was running their fades. Like, it took all of them ganging up on her. You can't even say there was a dub that was pulled out of this. Like, you can't even say that, because the fight literally just kind of ended. But yeah, it was literally a 4-on-1 handicap match. Yeah, technically Maggot was there, but Maggot didn't really even get to do a whole heap of lot in that fight. So even then, it's a 4-on-2 if you really want to make it about that. But we're just talking about characters who are considered gods. And now, because of all this, like, the reason why Sasano and Mamerigan and all the other gods, Zeus and so on and so forth, why they're voting for this is because, and I'm assuming they all share the same sentiment, Sasano basically is like, oh, well, Hadad's just gonna destroy this universe, and a new one's gonna take its place, and then we can just, try and make that next universe a better one. Because for those that don't understand or maybe don't know exactly, the way the Marvel Comics universe is set up, currently we are technically within the bounds of the 8th cosmos. There have been several previous iterations of the cosmos, its destruction, reality as we know it. There have all been different reasonings behind why these things have happened. Some of them have had to do with the Eternals and the Celestials. Some of them have had to do with the Black Winters and Galactus and so on and so forth. And in one particular instance, the reason why we are currently in the 8th cosmos is because of the events of 2015's Secret Wars. That's neither here nor there. Point of the matter is, they are hoping that Hadad will destroy everything. We will move into the 9th cosmos, and they'll be able to get things the way that they want them to be. The Thunder Gods, they believe that, oh, we can get it right this time. But I don't think that's the case. And the thing is, I don't think they understand what it is that they're allowing to happen, because Hadad is not just trying to defeat Storm. He's not just trying to defeat humanity. He is, in fact, trying to destroy everything, even the people who want to help him. Even the very people who voted to aid Hadad are being destroyed by the Black Winter. And I think that's something that, as we have kind of gotten to know some of these other Thunder Gods in the last few issues, granted, I'm not making it sound like we've spent a whole heap of a lot of time around them, but I mean, just a little bit that we have seen of them, they are honestly what you would expect. I won't say out of Thunder Gods, but they are what you would expect out of divine beings who aren't human. And I think that's kind of what makes Storm so much more special, and by proxy, Beta Ray Bill as well, by comparison, is that both of these characters, they are considered gods. They are mortal gods. So they're not exactly gods in the exact same way that other gods are gods, but they are as divine as a human can potentially, or even an alien, but like a humanoid person who is mortal can potentially be. With what Moreo has done with the story, he's basically made it pretty clear, like, what separates those who are of immortal power and those who are mortals with power. Yeah, they have no soul, they have no heart, they have no compassion. They all seem just incredibly short-sighted, petty, and not gonna lie, I'm like, man, I don't like any of these guys. These guys are all wild trash. Every last single one of these gods, trash. Wild trash. Just like, man, hate to see it. Hate to see it. But once again, it doesn't seem to matter which side they choose, because when Hadad does pull up by the end of this issue, he basically says that, yeah, everybody's gonna die. No one is gonna survive this. We see at a point where, as he's pulling up, Hadad is not a widow maker. Hadad is not an orphan maker. When Hadad steps into our universe, everyone dies. And we see that Hadad has command of the Black Winter, as we've been talking about. Now, what's interesting about this is the Black Winter has changed a little bit. When the Black Winter was first introduced in 2019 Silver Surfer Black, it seemed like it was a singular entity. But technically, it is a multiversal entity, and there's also not just the one Black Winter, there are multiple Black Winters. I mean, technically, Black Winter is just a lot of itself. And while it was believed that the Black Winter was destroyed by Thor in Thor number 6 back in 2020, we do know, not just because of this series, but because of the Hulk Thor Banner of War crossover, that wasn't the case. The Watcher, Uatu, had pretty much stated in kind of a blink and you'll miss it moment, yeah, the Black Winter was still alive, it was still out there, and its purpose is, for those unfamiliar, not that dissimilar from the purpose of Galactus. As a matter of fact, when the Black Winter was introduced, it was revealed that the Black Winter is basically just Galactus on a grander scale. Where Galactus is known as the Devourer of Worlds, well, the Black Winter is the Devourer of Universes. As a matter of fact, it's kind of retconned into Galactus's backstory that the whole reason that he exists is because when he was a part of the original 6th cosmos, the Black Winter destroyed it and left Galactus as the only living being from it. So that when the next cosmos, the 7th cosmos, had kicked in, Galactus would serve the purpose that we all now famously know him for serving, effectively making Galactus a herald of the Black Winter. No differently than Galactus has made other beings, like the Silver Surfer, his herald for the coming of his bringing destruction to whatever planet that he encounters. But yes, Hadad, when he defeated Oblivion just a couple of issues prior, he basically took command of the Black Winters, which for those of you may or may not know, they are subservient to Oblivion. So with Hadad having defeated Oblivion, that basically puts him in control of those, which is why there are Black Winters popping up all over the place by the time you get to the end of this issue, where we see at one particular page, there are multiple characters dealing with the Black Winters. We see that it strikes in the White Hot Room, specifically where Krakoa is. We see that the Phoenix even gets involved in the shenanigans. We see that Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, is encountering the Black Winter in another realm called the Land of Couldn't Be, Shouldn't Be. And we also see that Infinity, alongside Quasar, is facing off with the Black Winter in the far reaches of the universe, as well as Silver Surfer and the Galactus himself, also dealing with the Black Winter. Basically meaning that now that the Thunder War has finally been brought straight to Storm's doorstep, now she must face off against Hadad solo dolo. This is the brawl for it all. And what makes things even more interesting is that there's a lot of stuff that, and I know what you're probably thinking, like, man, what does any of this have to do with Storm proper? The main thing with her is that when we're talking about Storm directly in this issue, she is dealing with the fallout of some of her previous actions, and even some of the actions of Eternity himself. We saw in the previous issue that, for one, the entity, Infinity, who is the sibling of Eternity, they pulled up. And they were demanding to know where Eternity was, and we didn't really know why. And honestly, it seemed like the answer was obvious. He's with Storm. That's where he's been for a while. But it even seemed like Storm didn't even seem to know where he was. And now, when we get to this issue, we know why Eternity is missing. And it's because he has run off to the House of Ideas, which is both the home of the One Above All, and it is effectively heaven, but also at the same time is also just a tongue-in-cheek way to refer to Marvel Comics IRL. They are often called the House of Ideas. That's a tale as old as, almost as old, I would say, as Marvel Comics itself. We know that Eternity is asking the One Above All, his own father, for a boon, basically offering to sacrifice something, to give up something, in favor of stopping all of this. Whether or not the One Above All will do anything about it is another story altogether, but if the One Above All does, the question becomes, what is it Eternity is going to have to give up? What does the being who encompasses all things, what do you take from that being? And I don't know, it makes me wonder, like, if Eternity is going to have to maybe give up something of himself, or is Eternity going to have to risk it all in order to save all things? Because once again, Hadad is going to destroy it all. So what happens? What comes next? But then, once again, getting back to the Storm of it, yeah, she's dealing with the fact that, we saw Galactus and Silver Surfer crash land on Earth. They have words for her. They're not there to fight. And once again, Infinity also not there to fight. As a matter of fact, we discover that Infinity wants to die, because the fact that Eternity is gone is causing Infinity to fall apart. She would rather die than fall apart. So she's actually kind of wanting Storm to attack her in this. It's not really so much a fight as it is a unaliving by superhero, more or less. I find a lot of this interesting, some of this commentary going on with Storm, because yeah, she has been distracted. She's been trying to do everything herself, and while at the beginning of, even before this series, what we were going to witness were the labors of Storm, and that's exactly what we've been witnessing. But for the most part, Storm has been trying to do a lot of things solo dolo. Not everything, mind you, because obviously characters like Frenzy, Manifold, and Maggot, and even Dr. Voodoo, to another extent, have all been around on some level, but Storm is still trying to do things herself. And while, yes, she's letting them help her with the smaller ends of things, which, to be fair, even though smaller things are pretty big, she is trying to take on the brunt of it alone. And now she's in a position where she is going to have to do the one thing alone, because right now, Eternity's not there. He is not around. Hadad is pulling up, and she is going to be facing Hadad without the full brunt of Eternity, to back her up. And we already know that while, yes, she has Abraxas, because Eternity had captured Abraxas and brought him to her to keep as a backup weapon of sorts, even that's not probably going to be enough to take on Hadad. Hadad is the first Thunder God, and he's incredibly powerful, more powerful, I would imagine, than any of the other Thunder Gods combined. He was a guy who quite literally was described as being able to basically use and wield all of the different, entities as weapons and armor and shield. We saw how he was talked about using Eternity and the Phoenix Force and Infinity and Oblivion as actual parts of his armament. If he's that powerful, Storm's gonna be in for a tough run. But also at the same time, I feel like she is also starting to kind of dive more into her magic bag. And we even see in this issue, she does. Just a little bit, not a lot. We saw a little bit before when she first fought the other Thunder Gods, but she does it again in this issue, where in absence of Eternity's power, she summons the power that is connected to her bloodline. We see the point where she mentions that I am Aurora Monroe, descendant of Ashake. For those unfamiliar, that is a powerful sorceress from the past who is actually featured in older issues of the X-Men comics, dating back to the 80s. And she is someone who is of Storm's blood, who was a sorceress and was incredibly powerful. We've even seen her pop back up more recently. I believe is in one of the Gambit series that Chris Claremont had done not that terribly long ago. She also brings up that she shares blood with Agamotto, the first Sorcerer Supreme. And why is that the case? It's because of the second ever Sorcerer Supreme, Aisha of the Bala Beto. She was the next in line after Agamotto, and while it's been kind of up in the air as to how that blood is shared, how the passing of office from one Sorcerer Supreme to another, blends into that, it could largely be believed, maybe even possibly implied, that it has something to do with the fact that maybe the original, the first ever Agamotto, maybe he and Aisha clap cheeks. We don't know yet. We don't have a lot of detailed information on that. The reason why I say there must be some kind of pairing is because she says she shares blood with Agamotto, and Aisha is not related to Agamotto on any level. Agamotto is the mortal son of Oshter, an elder god of Earth, and while Agamotto himself is considered a magical entity, he was originally human, and even then, of no actual blood relation to Aisha. So I'm assuming there must have been a pairing at some point that has not been talked about on any level, but is just being hinted at or danced around, because once again, she says her roots run deep, far back to Oshter, the elder god. So yeah, and if Oshter is Agamotto's mother, I mean, we gotta look, I'm just saying, it's right there. It's right there. I mean, it's not being spelled out, but I feel like it's pretty goddamn close to it. So I feel confident in saying not only is Storm the descendant of the second ever Sorcerer Supreme, but it also seems like Agamotto was in there too. He might be the pappy, or not the pappy, but as far as like a paternal ancestor of sorts. You get where I'm coming at here. So yeah, like I said, I think that's really awesome that we're kind of digging back into that. And I feel like this is that moment where Storm is probably going to have to step up on that magic. And maybe we get to see the one true rogue Storm really pop off. I would love to see it. As for one last thing, you're probably wondering, okay, well, what happened with Maggot and Manifold? What's going on there? Did we just forget about Maggot and Manifold? No, we did not forget about Maggot and Manifold. Well, for one, Maggot is very dead. He's pretty dead. He's got a toe tag on him by the time we get to the end of this issue, or almost to the end of the issue. And Manifold is in intensive care. He's being operated on to save his life because his wounds, while yes, he is not Omega, apparently his ability to survive death is considered Omega. But yeah, we don't know what's going to happen there with that. They do go to the Night and Day hospital for the extra mundane towards the end of the issue. So, and I also thought it was really funny that Galactus was just outside chilling, outside the hospital, just like, yep, just sitting here waiting. Like, I feel like, that moment where he picked up the tree, like he was about to smoke the tree. Like, he didn't smoke the tree, but like it looked like he was picking up the tree. So he goes, yeah, let me go ahead and smoke this real quick. Like, I feel like that could have happened. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. But while all that's going on, Storm has a conversation with Gateway, and I actually wonder what it is that Gateway did to Storm, because this is a point where after she's talking about how she's got to step up, that she let people down, that she let people get hurt, that if she would have been more in tune with her magic, she could have stopped what Agent Fabi and Etienne were doing in terms of using voodoo to attack herself and her friends. And then at a point, Gateway just places a hand on her forehead, and we see her eyes like light up, like there's light coming out of her mouth. Her entire head basically is just lit up with energy, and then nothing happens after that. And when we see Storm just a couple of pages later, at the very end of the issue, her eyes are still glowing. But I mean, one of those things could easily just be attributed to the fact that Storm is a mutant. Her eyes glow all the time. But I wonder what it is Gateway did. Did he unlock something in her? Because one thing that we can't forget about Gateway is a very important mutant in this. We know that Gateway's power allows him to traverse not just, the planet. He can traverse the entire universe. He can traverse different realities, dimensions. And not only that, he also can look into other realities and dimensions and view timelines, even ones that have not happened. And the thing to take note of is that Gateway is a guy who is not really very talkative. He tends to speak in forms of what I just talked about, the way that he can communicate with people, using his power across spaceways and time and dimensions and reality and whatnot. That's usually how he prefers to communicate with folks. He's not really a guy who is very verbal. He's mostly non-verbal, not because he can't talk. He can, but he just prefers to not talk. And while he doesn't speak very often, this is actually one of the few times he actually says more than two things. I mean, he does only say a couple of things, but I mean, he speaks in this whole instance. So this makes all of this that much more important. So yeah, I wonder what it is he did. Did he open Storm's mind up to the magic that she laments that she is not better skilled in? Is that what he did? Or did he show her everything that was going on? Did he show her, like, what was it he gave to her or showed her that opened her mind up? I think that's going to be the real question a lot of people need to be asking themselves.